through and work on this painting while we have a chance. My glasses a little wiped down, ready to go. Right. Oops. That was my glass case. All right. So I worked a little bit over here last night and I really cleaned up this section here. We can come in and take a look at some of the things. I worked more on the stove back here by putting the burners in. I feel like that burner is crooked. Do I want to fix it? Maybe. Do I want to fix it now? I don't know. I might just let it dry. So I'm coming in here. I've got to do these windows too. I'm going to do this part. This part of my painting, this is where my elbows start to hurt. So, you know, I got to kind of get this stuff done and get down into this other section. Also been working on this part. And then last night I went ahead and straightened up some of these lines within this area here. I put a letter G, which is reverse for you and perfect for me. And then that little Swiss cheese. I've got a little opening in the building that drops. Hopefully, I feel like we could put a little bit more darker color there to really make that noticeable. Let's see. If we just put a little bit underneath, and we just shadow it up a little, just like that. See if that helps out a little bit. All right, we'll go back and forth and get that cleaned up just right. Just put that dark Payne's Gray right in there, and we use that as our dark color because we're only using Payne's Gray for this painting. That's okay. Let's see. I'm wearing out my brushes, so I had to go through my supply of brushes and find new brushes again. And they're just never going to be as good as these brushes that I have right now. Let me look at reverse and see. Usually when I look backwards at it, I can tell if something is right or wrong. There we go. Just a little hair. Okay, so that looks look a little bit better. I've also put a shadow of this building in here, and I'm just going to let that be a shadow. I'm not going to blend it into anything more than that. I'm just going to go right there, and it's just going to end like that. All right. So I still have to do this in this building. I kind of got the stairs straightened out a little bit, and I'll work into this building and into here slowly, just getting everything in. Now, I don't know if I like the dark outline lines that I left in certain places of this. I might come back through and fade those out a little bit. I also worked here. I straightened out a lot of these windows. There was a lot larger gaps up here, and so I just worked a little bit at getting them as I go down. There's a little, it's wet, but there's a tiny little piece of hair on there. Just wipe it right off. All right, no problem. So I just fix that up a little bit better again. I'll let that sit, and when it dries, I'll come back to it. And then yesterday I did come through and did all the gray around these windows on all sides. So that means I can come through and work on these windows and these sections back here. So that's what's happening in the painting world. And as I going through, I'm starting to see the end. And that's a good thing, I guess. But the problem is I do need to come up with another painting idea, and it's really important as I'm working to keep having other ideas in my head as I go. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have a stick. I've talked about the steady wrist before. Let's come back and zoom back out again really quick, and we'll go back real quick here. This is the steady rest, and when you're painting starts to get to the point where you don't really want to get it marred, you want to keep it looking nice, I would set my steady rest up here on the side of my painting, and then I would take like this stick across, and that way it would hold one end and I could paint and not lay my hand onto the painting but rest it on the stick. I don't need that just yet, so I will put the stick down into the easel in this corner, and I'll hold the stick with one hand, and then I'll come in with my other hand, and I'll start getting the areas without putting my hand onto the painting. So that's just an example. Now I'm at an angle right here, so I can't really get in there and do the best job showing you that with the stick, but just to let you know, that's one of the methods I've used for keeping my fingers off my painting. But I'm at the stage where I don't really need to do that much. The important thing about keeping your hands off your painting is you don't want to stretch that canvas either or mar the canvas itself. And you can see we have a lot of movement on our canvas. And then when I'm done, I will show you, let's push over here. I will show you how we can fix this. So I'm done with my painting. I'll show you how that's, but it ain't gonna be on today's show because we have a lot more hours to work on this paint and get it done. Getting all these dark colors in and set up, that alone takes about 3 or 4 layers of the Payne's Gray. To really stack up in there. Now, I could make it stack up, but then it wouldn't be a thin paint, it would be thick. And I'm going for a brushless, a strokeless painting with no paintbrush strokes inevitable, seen or anything. So that is the goal here. Now, I worked on my weave building the other day, and I like the weave now, but I need to come in and put all this black back in, or the Payne's Gray back in. So that is just a little bit of example of what I'll be doing with that. And I'm doing this live show today, and hopefully I won't make any mistakes, so I can just put it up right up on my channel. I missed making a short yesterday. I was experimenting by putting my shorts from my TikTok onto here that were really good. And every time I did that, they would get very minimal views, like 4 views. And the same video would get like 100,000 views on a different social media site. So I think what it is that there's probably a tag in them. I've never had this problem before. And at the beginning of the year of last year, there was a company that YouTube was promoting that allowed you, they would post your TikTok videos onto YouTube, and then you'd get, get good views. Well, they must have altered the tagging or something when they did that, because I think when I put them up on YouTube, they recognize it's from another site and they don't want to put it up there. So I don't know. I guess that can be just one of the issues I got to deal with. So a lot of great videos I'm not able to put up on my YouTube that people are missing out on. So, and I don't always save my videos because I just don't like to go through thousands of videos on my phone. I wish I had an auxiliary phone. It would be so much nicer. Hello, thank you. Osmenda. Osmend. Oh, I'm not Osmanda. Osmanda. I'm not even gonna say it right. The pressure of being live and having the same names. Oh no. Thank you. So, trying to solve those problems by being able to put videos out from the past would be great. So there. So as I just go through cleaning this up, and just getting this all right. Funny story, yesterday I really worked hard on my live show, and I did 2 lives at one time. I got my little painting device started up so I could do the live off YouTube, and the footage was horrible. The footage for my YouTube was horrible. So scratch that idea, and I think what I'll do is get my old tablet out from 2010. I don't even know if it's gonna do it, and see if I can do my live shows off of that also, along with my phone. So I could do 2 live shows at once. It would be really helpful for me if I could do that, because I know that I can only be normal for 1 hour. So that will help me stay normal for that whole hour. And then I can just go about my painting day. All right. Woke up last night when I came to bed, it was so foggy outside, you couldn't even see very far. And then I woke up this morning and it was super foggy. And then I looked back outside an hour later and it was super sunny. And then an hour later it was super foggy again. And now it's sunny again. Like, what the heck? What the heck, man? All right, I'm just doing a little cleanup here and there. Just learning how, by coming and doing these lives. Oh, this is New York City. This is the building called 30 Rock. There you go. That's my photograph when I was on this building at the top in the observation deck. So, yeah, New York City. New York City. a fascinating place. I don't know, it'd be cool to spend like a little bit of time there, hang out, but I'm not wealthy, so that ain't gonna happen to me. Yeah, I'm just gonna go rent an apartment in New York for a year. That would be awesome. All right, I just doing a little shading here and there because I am being way over particular. And this is a good point to bring in. A lot of times we get ultra focused on the smallest details that we forget to step back and see if those details even really matter. And so that's what it's like with painting. You can really get drawn into your painting and get stuck working on something over and over again. And then you step back and you're like, why did I spend so much time there? You know? So yeah, this will look so much better when this is all, oh, you're going to Georgia, USA. Well, you have a great one there. The only thing I know about Georgia is I had a girlfriend that went and lived there, and she told me it was so humid she could never get her hair to look good. But nowadays, with oils and stuff, your hair will look fine all day long, so I don't think there's a problem. It's good that you told me which Georgia you're going to, because I do know there's more than one Georgia. There we go. All right. Another problem I've been having is I've been wearing my brushes out really fast. So this brush here was my savior 3 weeks ago, and now it is toast. It is almost completely gone. It is really just good for moving around some paint. It's not really good for anything else. It's really sad that it's worn down so much. So I'm not saying it was this long, but it was pretty dang close. So definitely they do wear out. This brush, I'm gonna say it was very similar. Not, it wasn't this size because this is a 4 and this is 1, but it was puffier. So you could really see how it's worn out. And there's not much left to it anymore of this paintbrush, but I'm still using it. Same with this long one. This one was way better before. I did go get a replacement out of my supplies, so I do have those available. All right. Now I'm just taking a look at a couple things, and I did this building yesterday, and I have to decide if I want, make sure I'm in the right spot, if I want to keep that dark Payne's gray all the way into the shadow down and into this zone. And I think I should, because I do want to have as much contrast as I can in this painting. That will make areas like pop and other areas disappear. And by doing this, I think that it just adds another dimension there of that dark shadowy line. All right, I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna blend it because it will just disappear. And that's what this Payne's gray is good at. It is good at blending to disappearing. And you won't even notice I put it there, but I want it to dry. I'm gonna build up that dark color, let that dry, and then I come back and fix that dark color later on. Just make sure it's come across here a little bit. There we go. It's great. There we go. All right. I mean, if I wanted to, I feel like just for my own self right here, I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to wipe the top edge. And that will just blend that a little bit so we don't have any lines or marks. Because when I come back to this and let that dry, I'm going to put that dark in again, and I'm going to blend it into this shadow so it works really well. But I really wanted it close to that building for now, and bringing that black line or that dark Payne's gray line into that spot. So adding a little elements like that. Now I have to decide what I want to do along this side of this building here. It's such a small spot. It's such a small area, but yet it bothers me. I did put some ghost windows on this one. It will have to be fixed. In fact, it's so hard to see. Let's zoom in, and you can see those ghost windows here. Now, yesterday I worked on this section, and I'm straightening it out. It's still not right, but it's because it's wet. I'm gonna move on. And when I come back and get these windows better straight, and then these ones a little bit more noticeable, but not standing out too much. All right. And then we'll come back over here. And this one, I've just been working on getting this the whitest white possible, because that is the whitest spot in my photograph. As you can see right here, this is the brightest spot. And then that is just some messed up part of my photograph. So there's a couple areas that are off. All right, let me take a look at a couple things. Oh, that had a little bit of color in it. I didn't mean to do that. But I thought I seen a little some stick in there. Yeah, got it. All right. A lot of times if you get a little bit of hairs on here, you can just wait till it's dry and then they wipe off. Even if when you're wet and the hair gets on there, you can let it dry and then wipe it off. It'll come off. Okay. Let's go over to this section here. Let me try to bring this in closer to me, because like I said, I'm doing this for the camera. It's a little bit harder for me to get in there. I was like, where's that giant chair from? All right. These need some work. Let's get out this is the tool I'm using. I cut this from a sheet of transparency paper. And what I did is I made a jig up here of all of my colors. The sunshine colors are these first 4. That means that those are the bright colors that do not belong in the shadow area. And the shadow areas are mainly these colors here. So I cut out this transparency paper, and I'm using this to make my straight lines. So for example, we'll see how this will look in a second. I'll hold that up to there. Let me see if I have any paint that's in that color form. I might have to do a quick little mix with my hand. Quick little mix. And then let's put that on there, just right next to the edge. And then to take this off, oh, I don't think I like that brush. It's a new brush. It's not always the best brush. I kind of like it when they're a little bit stiffer and they can just put that color right in there. Put that in there. Okay. And then I'll push that transparency paper right into what I already did. So if there's any bleed back, it goes right onto this and into the fresh area already painted. I see I got a little bleed back there from that section I was having a hard time with. Not a problem. I'll just come back through here, hold my breath, and clean that up. Nice. Okay. Perfect. So that's an example of how I'll make these straight lines. And I will do that up to three or four times. And every time I do that, that edge will look better and better and more crisp. And that's what we're kind of going for. As a majority, the rest of the painting is really, doesn't always, not every part has to be perfect. All right, let me just put a little color back here. And then I see that we've got some water towers that are a little crooked. We want, our line is this line. So these lines here, that's our straight line down to these water towers. Okay, so I'm going to put that there next to this water tower. I'm going to find the top edge right there, and I'm going to go ahead and just use my black. I could use white, or my paint spray, I should say. I could use the white or a lighter color, but I'm just going to put that in there. It's part of building it. I didn't quite build this yet. I just set it in there. And as I build, it'll get better. And so I'll just put this on a little bit more like this and come back and put a little bit more down. All right. That looks a lot better. And then I can just go through and clean it up with my dry brush. I'll just pull that out there, just clean that up as we go. All right. And then I can blend that too if I want. I'm just making those edges nice so I know this is our water tower here. I feel like that little one still could be used more. Definitely. Okay. Now I'm going to go over to this water tower. Oh, that's way off. It's a good thing we stopped here and took a look at it. And I'm going to go ahead and put that outer line there. That'll give us a good good line. And it says, okay, there we go. So on the other side is the leftovers. Pull that off. And let me see what I'm going to do real quick. I'm just going to grab some paint, some lighter paint, and I'm just going to blend down next to that dark. Just blend down, and that will just differentiate the background from that one specifically. And then I'm going to come through and let's just pull that dark color right in. Now every painting is different that I do, so what I'm doing for this cityscape is probably not what I did for my other cityscapes. So every painting is approached differently. This is also a different perspective in a sense. It's closer than the other pictures I've done. Actually, it's closer and farther. There's two different ones. And that's where, at this point, I decided I needed to figure out if my painting was going to be gritty or clean and, I don't know, having the colors more solid. So the grit is where I would add the moss and the dirt into the paint style. If you get that, it's what's really there. So I would just put dark shadows in and spread the paint a little bit so it looks like it's dirt there. It's not clean, it's city life. So an example of adding grit is this top of this building has nice grit. Got little stuff here, a little there. But if I wanted to make it not have grit, I would just paint this whole thing a solid color and not have these highs and lows in there. So that's an example of me talking about adding grit to my painting. All right, we have did that one last little section down there. Let's see. I feel like my camera could be better. Maybe right there? Yeah. Now, I see the tops of those are wrong, but I really have to keep my eyes open and make sure everything looks good so those top ones look good. Over here, as I look in the reverse of my imagery, I feel like this lid is too low on this side and it needs to go up. I can tell like right there looking at it. So that's something I'll think about doing as I go. But when I'm looking at it straight on, it might be different in that camera. I think that's definitely true. But a lot of times I'll use that method. I'll look back at my camera at it to see if it looks right or wrong. And to me, it looks off. To me, those look off. But that's how you can fix it as you go. But these are such small little spots. It's really hard to tell otherwise. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and we're just going to put a little bit of paint around the top of this here. And that's just going to be separating the top from the bottom. There we go. Now, realistically, if I was to do this realistically, I would need a better picture than what I've got, that's for sure. Because I need to get in deep into the picture and look deep inside. Usually when I start, I look at the base of the picture. I start with the base colors, and then I look into the picture again, and then I'll start to, clean it up, and then by the time I look at the picture last time, I'm looking at it with my magnifying glasses. I'm looking deep into it. I'm noticing, all the things. I'm noticing people in the windows at this time. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that deep detailed with this painting, just because, well, the windows are this size, but I only have this one painting, and I can't quite tell you what's inside all the windows and stuff. I can't get as close to it visually as I would like, so it's an example. And then there's some areas like within here that you couldn't see because of the damage to the photo, so I made that up on my picture. All right, we're coming across. We're gonna look here, and oh, that looks crooked. You can start to see a little, oh, no, that's okay. If I get these lines over here straightened out, it'll help me straighten these other lines out. So, the bottom of these windows, I'm gonna put the paints gray in. that is the key, that has been the pretty much the theme to this whole painting is the bottom and the left side, to me, are the black lines on the windows. So that's the trim. And some of these are actually not black, but if you look at the picture, everything does look black. So, oops, that's too low. Too low. And the reason is I actually already did this the other day, cleaning up the edge to make sure the different distances between the spots was good. All right, let's come back up here, and I think I'll go to Jack in the Box today. I had a doctor's appointment. I thought it was yesterday because the day before I got 4 reminders. I got a phone call, I got a text, and I got several emails. So I assumed my appointment was yesterday. I get there, my appointment is today. I arrive on the wrong day. This has never happened in my entire life, ever. So I go out to my car and I reach into my pocket, and guess what? I don't have any keys in my pocket. I know exactly what happened immediately. My keys are in my car. That's okay, I do have a spare key on my car because I have an old car. But for some reason, I just can't find it. And there's 2 people parked right next to me in the parking lot in their car. And it was just awkward and uncomfortable. So I was just like, called my husband. I said, I just can't remember where the key is. It's been so long. So he walked me through it. I found my key. I got greasy and muddy as usual. And I got in my car and came home. So yeah, yesterday was a rough day for me. Just that part. Everything else was fine. And I didn't even bother getting myself lunch yesterday because I had lunch at home. I mean, that's where you know. That's when you plan on going out to eat and you can just come right home because you know you don't deserve to be outside that day. So today I'm ready to go again to my doctor's appointment, and it'll be exciting, I'm sure. And I won't lock my keys. Oh, and then I didn't even say that when I went into the doctor's office, I went on the wrong floor and I walked around aimlessly looking, and then I went back onto my app to see, and I was even on the wrong floor. Those are the days, right? All right, I'm just cleaning this window up here. I'm not trying to do too much, bring too much attention to these side buildings, because they just kind of fade away in the picture. But sometimes you add some element here, it will grab your eye. And that's the idea, is we want to add some elements that makes you forget that there are random things in there, that this is the city, and like the stove in the background. That's a good random example right there. I feel like this handle needs a line underneath it. Let's do that. It needs some more work, but for now, get that edge there. All right, perfect. Is anybody eating dinner tonight? And if so, what are you making? That way I don't have to think about it and I can steal your idea for my dinner tonight. Let me know in the comments. I don't think there's anybody watching actually, but I just want to know what to make for dinner tonight. I just want to know. All right, these are definitely all crooked, but as you keep going, you'll straighten out, and get better. Let's just put that black line down and get that area looking good. Whoops. I've been practicing this year talking and painting at the same time. And this was something I always had a harder time doing when I was younger because I get distracted. And so I figured, why not make this a learning session for the live shows, do my live show, and I can also do this at the same time. Now, sometimes if I turn around and look at the comments, then it just disappears. Everything in my head disappears. Like, oh, what were we talking about? Because I have to remember to answer the comments. All right. Or the comments will mention something you said a while ago and you don't even remember what it was you were talking about. That definitely happens. All right, that's a good example right there of okayness. Okayness. Look at okayness. And then this one here, what I want to do is we let that sit for a minute. I like these little black, tiny little disappearing black lines. It makes it look like it's a wood planks. And a lot of these do have that wood plank design to them. But I wonder if I should change it up with the one next to it and add them side like this. Because then that would add some visual interest to that design. Maybe. What I am doing is just making sure I go through and everywhere that needs a dark grit line, that dirt line, that mold line, that mildew line, that's what I'm gonna call my grit line. I'm gonna put it in. Hey, I didn't know you were in here. And my dog. And I will have to leave soon, but I'm trying to do, there's no way I'm gonna do a whole hour. Dang it. Well, we tried. All right, I just see a couple areas I wanted to fix there. All right, that looks fine as we keep going through. And these curtains there'll be different colored drapes in here. Like sometimes you'll see a dark spot like right here in the window. And that will add the elements. I will come back through and darken up some of these lines and make some of these brighter. Like we can definitely, this is in the sunshine zone. The paint is thick and the paintbrush is weak. What it means is it doesn't want to grab the paint because it's so weak and the paint is so stiff. All right, that's a good example. Hold on. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of walnut oil to my paintbrush, only to the brush. I don't want to mix it with my paint. It'll dry the paint out very quickly. But I need a little bit better flowing white. Whoa, a little too much. At least it didn't run out. Okay. Now, you should never use pure white. Oh, I'm over here. You should never use just pure white. You should always mix your whites. But I am not listening to that rule today. I'm doing my own rule. So you can see how this is starting to look like a real window. I know. As soon as I cover the other sides, it'll look better. But like I said, I always start and I do the right, or I do the left and the bottom with a black line first, because that's where all the trim is. And if you look at the picture that I'm using, that is what it pretty much looks like too. There's a couple white trim looking buildings, but mainly everything has a black look to it. Let's come up here, let's add some, let's close these windows halfway up. There we go. Get that closed up. Let's clean up a tiny spot on that window. Tiniest little spot. Right there. Right there. Right there. The secret to realism painting is to keep working on it. Don't stop. Keep working. And when you think it looks okay, keep working. And then it'll just, all of a sudden you'll just keep working and it'll be great. And that's how you know it's done. If you have to ask if it's done, it's not done. But if you just keep working and you stop painting and you're like done, then it's done. This is the minds of, painters. Now this little stove had just a little bit of sunlight. Let's just clean up that little sunlight there. And let's grab some tiny bit of walnut oil and we'll come back in and we will just grab that straightener right there. Yeah. And we're just just go ahead, put it across. Awkward position for me. Whoa, that just feels too light. So I'm going to come back in with a darker color. Yeah, and we'll just blend it with the brush. Well, it leaves a little bit of that grit. Look, there we go. And push that down. That's much cleaner than before. Much cleaner. And then I'm going to clean up that bottom line just a little bit. Let's see. Sometimes a different brush works better. I guess I'll have to go back through my brushes. The ones I pulled out just aren't cutting it. Maybe I should cut them. Sometimes I will cut my brushes, make them better for me. All right, that looks a little bit better as we go. Nice look. Very good, very good. All right, I'm gonna end this now because we did pretty good and I do have to get ready to go. I wasn't able to put the amount of time into this live as I would like to, but I appreciate it. And also I can just set my live right back out onto my channel so you can just watch me there. And thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you have a good one. Bye.